Do let me know if my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. So, for the purpose of today's webinar, uh, I'd also request that whoever is not on mute right now, please mute themselves. So, this is going to be a 1 hour session. And for the purpose of this particular webinar, I've chosen a complete kitchen design to showcase the full extent of what our presentation tool can achieve. So, the session will be around 45 minutes, and the last 15 minutes will be reserved for questions. So, should you have any questions in the duration of the session, I'd suggest you please put them down in the Google chat so that we can tackle them one by one at the end. The floor will be open to questions towards the end of the session. So, with that, let's begin the webinar. So, we'll be purely talking about the presentation tool this time. Uh, so we see this design. The workspace we are currently in is the design portal, where we are going to see the plans, 3D views, etc. Now, in order to access the presentation mode, you need to go to the navigation bar at the top and you can see this tab called design. When you select design, there's another option called presentation. So you select that and you'll be entering your presentation mode. The other method is you go to your home tab over here and there's an option called presentation. So when you select that, you will be taken to your presentation mode. So now whenever you'll be since I've already added presentation sheets here, you'll be directly be taken here. But normally, if you're not opening a presentation mode in your design for the first time, you'll be getting something like this. So when you add a sheet, let's say I'm adding a sheet to this presentation, Modal will open up asking you to choose your template. So these are the two default templates available to you, the blank page and a very simplistic template with drawing image, footer, etc. Apart from these two, you can also choose from your catalog. So by default, your catalog will be empty. In my case, if I select, I also don't have any currently in my catalog. So I'll just select choose from catalog. So this is what I have currently. So the catalog is basically we have these templates over here in the admin portal. If you select template, and I had created a category here. So these were the two that were already there. So now let's say we want to add more sheets. So you select the add sheet over here and then you select a blank page or the existing one. And then a new page will be formed. And similarly, you can delete a sheet. So how one would normally begin is we would actually create a template first. So I'm sure many users would already be having a template that they've created in AutoCAD, etc. And a lot of them would be wondering if you can actually import this template into Infurnia, but that is not the case. If you want to use a template that you already have for future reference, it's not advisable to do so, because what we have over here is we are currently only able to add images. So when you add, let's say if you take a photo of your existing AutoCAD template and you paste it here, it tends to lose quality as you resize it to fit your page. So instead, we have an alternative method. You can actually create your own template and then you can create that template and then you can publish it. So how to do that is for by creating to create a template, first we access the page settings. So in your toolbar, you select settings, and in the left-hand panel, you can see options like you can set the sheet size ranging from A4 to A0, both landscape and portrait. Let's say I'm just going ahead with this A4 landscape. And as you go down to sheet settings, uh, many of you may be wondering about how to place a border. So the easiest way to do so is we have the sheet margins here. So you can set the size of the margin for each. So let's say I want like 5 mm at top, right, and bottom, and I want the one at the bottom to be 10 mm. So if you select visualize margins, you'll just be able to see the margins going all around, but you won't be able to see the border. And to add a border, just check the box against the same. So you'll be able to see that border. So if you don't want that gray area to be there, you can just untick visualize margins while keeping the add border on. I'll just delete this, and the bottom margin, I'll just make it 10. Please unmute yourself. I think someone is not on mute right now. So to change your border thickness, the minimum you can achieve is 1 mm. You can just type in 1 against border thickness, and now your border will be ready. So this is how you can set up the first part of your sheet by setting up your margins and your size. So now if you change it, the margins will remain the same, but it appears smaller because I've changed the size of the overall page. So that's how we can set our borders. Now we have something called sections. So sections is a very useful tool for aligning objects and locating them in certain parts of the sheet. So when I select the section icon over here in this toolbar, another thing I wanted to mention, so whenever you add a sheet, let's say I'm adding another one, this blank page. So you can see here in this navigation bar that now sheet 2 has been added, and you can switch between sheet 1 and sheet 2 wherever you want. You can even click on the sheet 1 in the left hand panel, and sheet 2 you can select here and you can click on delete sheet. Now to add sections, select the section line icon at the toolbar. And now in the left hand panel, you have the choice to either select horizontal or a vertical section line. And you can even press the Alt button to alternate between the two. So now let's say I've added a section line here. So now you can see that the line has been properly added. It's not even falling within the margins, which is exactly what we want. The advantages of creating a section line is, let's say we are placing as opposed to a line, we even have the option of adding a line. So let's understand the difference between the two. Let's say this is an ordinary line and this one is a section line. The difference is that, let's say I'm inserting something like this particular table. If I click on add table here, and now I place it anywhere in this section, you can see that it is constrained only to this section, and it won't be visible beyond that line. So that is the advantage of a section line. It helps you to segregate your items properly. Whereas if I kept it where this line is, then it won't even align properly with the column. Even if I resize this particular table, there will be some gap or the other. So you can see here there is no proper lining, like there's no proper alignment of this table. There is a slight difference. But in the case of the section line, you don't really need to worry about that. All you need to do is drag it and slightly resize it. And then you can easily align this half with the section line. So now here it is falling perfectly here, unlike the one with the line. So that is one important advantage of section lines. So it helps you to constrain data inside a certain part of your sheet. And you can even use it to align text and other images as well. So if I created another section line, let's say here, and I added a text, then you can simply drag this text and it'll align itself snapping with the section line. And now even if you clicked on the section line and you selected remove section line, this text will remain where it was. It won't be affected. So you can even drag the section line in order to move it. You can drag it, and whatever's associated with it will move as well. Or you can move it independently also. But the section line is a good way to align everything to it. So you can add as many section lines as you want. So now if I click on section line again and I choose a horizontal one this time. So now what happens is that you will not be able to delete this section line now because there is another one attached to it. So you need to delete the one you've added last. If I click on remove section line, you're getting a message saying that you cannot delete the selected line. However, you will have to delete the one you've created at the last because none of the lines depend on that. So if I click on this and in the left hand panel, I select remove section line. And now if I click on this and remove section line, this is how you can delete section lines. You cannot delete it in the normal way. Just bear that in mind, unlike a line, which you can. So now that you've added various items to the, let's say I've added a few dividing lines like this to our format. Now let's say we want to add the remaining items to create our format. So we can add various things. You can add texts, different lines, and we can even add logo in the form of an image, compass, etc. So to add a text or a line, so to add a text, just select the text in the toolbar and you can place the text anywhere that you want. This is a very useful tool for when the section line come in. Like suppose you wanted everything to align with that line. So I'll just add another section line here and then I'll drag add text here. And then whatever text you want it to be, you can double click inside this text box and you can just type in the header that you like. And always press the tick mark to save this change. You can always change the font later on. So if you click on this design, you click on this text box in the left hand side, you can change the size, the font, the color as well. If you want to change the size, you can just type in a new size here and always keep it at so that will remain constant. And you can even change the font as well. And you can even make it bold or not bold. So bold right now is false, set it to true. And you can even make it italic or not italic. And you can even change the alignment to be at the center or not. If you want to change the color of this text, just select color by and select self because right now it is assigned to a certain layer, which is black. But now if I click on self, you can assign any color that you want. This new option will open up and you can change the color accordingly. You can put any RGB, HSL or hex code and you can change it. And you can even rotate this particular text and you can add any rotation angle that you want here. That is how you can create a text. You can also create lines in this way. It's a very similar manner to creating like to editing a text. So select a line first, the line in the toolbar, and you can even determine the color, line weight, etc. But first to create one, once you've activated this line option, click on one end of the line and click on the other end to end this particular line. In this manner, you can make divisions within your particular format. One thing to bear in mind is that since this is a section line, uh, these lines, if you would not be going beyond, would not be visible after this particular line. So in this gap, so I'll just try changing the layers. If I click on this and I bring it towards the front, so that's not working. So it'll be better to delete this line or to create another line here and then delete the section line. So I click on remove section line. Now you can see that these lines are visible. So you can always delete section lines later on. So after putting a line, after putting a particular line, you can select the line and in the left hand side, you can change the color. You can even change the layer, I mean the line weight. There are a variety of line weights, both in and in point. If I select point, for example, same with the font, then you can see that the thickness is not constantly changing. But if you want to keep it constant, it's better to keep the unit at So I'll just keep it at around 10. So now you'll be getting, it'll be constant if you zoom in or out. And you can even change the type of the line type. You can even make it dashed, dotted, etc. And you can even change the gap in between. So in this way, you can actually edit the lines. Now let's suppose you want to add an image. So when you click on this image tab in the left hand in this toolbar, we have the option of adding renders. We can add materials, but if there's a logo that you want to add, you need to make sure you have it saved in your computer so that when you click on upload image from computer, and let's say I've saved mine in screenshots, I'll just select this particular one and I'll select open. So now this logo has been created. So now this image is there. If there's a section line, always ensure that you have placed it, you have clicked in the correct place. So now I've clicked here, so it's not going inside the other section, but I want it in the right hand part. So I click on image, upload image from computer, click on this, open, and always ensure that you set it in the correct area by clicking on that part. So now you can resize it. There are many ways in which you can resize it. So to resize this, always click on the diagonal extents of this image and drag. If you click on this left, right, top, or bottom, it'll just crop like this. So to resize, always it would be better to do a diagonal extent. And even then the left hand side, you can change the object width and height along with the image width and height. So object, I'm just changing to, let's say, 60. You can see the width and the height of this is also changing accordingly. I'll just undo these changes in this particular case because I just need an approximate resizing. So now this logo has been placed. So you can add as many lines as you want, sections, etc. And let's say you want to even add a compass. So we have the compass tool here. And you can place it, you can click anywhere in your, anywhere you want to set it. So just select here. I'm just adding it in the corner. And in the left hand side, you can change the radius. You can change the size of this. So I'm changing it to 5. So it has decreased in size. You can even click on the, you can even set the rotation. So if I type in 0 now, you will see that it's pointing exactly to the north. So you can always bear that in mind while thinking of the rotation of your compass. This is how you can denote your plans as well. I'll just change this compass size again for visibility's sake. And not to mention, you can add it, edit your table. Now, supposing this is one table I've created, what I had done was I clicked on add table. To add a table, just select add table and click in the particular part that you want to set it. So now that you have added a table, right? So actually, I'll just add it here. I'll just click here. Now that you have added a table, you can do several things with it. You can insert, delete rows and columns. You can resize them, so on and so forth. To insert rows, click on that particular cell or who's next to whom you want the row to be added. So if I go down and I click on row insertion in the left hand panel, you can insert a row above or below this particular cell. And then I select insert and now a row has been added. Similarly, if I want to add a column, I click on column insertion and I can choose whether I want it on the right or the left side of my selected cell. Click on insert and again this has been created. There are many ways in which you can even resize your rows and columns in your table. So of course, one is the approximate way of doing this. You can drag the extents of the same. Each and every line you can do this. This is very useful if you just want a graphical kind of snapping and you wanted to snap to a particular part of your sheet. However, for a more exact kind of calculation, just select the cell whose row or column you want to resize. Then click on table row, and then you can change the height here. Now the row height will be changed, and the width also you can change. And similarly, to delete that row or column, you can always click on the delete icon against that particular row under table row. And if I want to delete the column the cell is in, click on table column and select delete icon against the same. Now, supposing I want to add any text here, so in this case, you cannot really type in anything. You can either double click here. So then you can just type, so double click into the cell and press enter or select the tick mark to save your change. And here you can change the size just like you would with a normal text. You can change the size, color, so on and so forth. If you want to insert an image inside this table, you can do that as well. So just click inside the cell, change your type to content, go to type and set it as image. And then you can set in whatever image that you want. And then when you select open, this logo will fit itself inside the particular cell that you want. And if you were to resize it by just dragging this, the image that you have inserted will adjust itself according to the new size of the cell. So let's say after all this, you have created a table that you wanted to add. So you have created a sheet. So in this way, you can add as many lines and as much text as you want. Now, let's say you want to use this particular template for all of your designs. Not for all of your designs, for at least for all of the sheets that you have here. So one option is you can, if you select this particular sheet, this three dot button here, and now if you select duplicate sheet, you will be getting this, you will be getting these particular items that you've selected here. And settings, you can go back and add your border, but you will have to reset all of this. That is the issue. So rather than duplicating the sheet, what you can do is publish your format. So let's say I am going back to sheet one and I want to publish this as a format. So now if I click on to publish this as a format, to go to the sheet that you want to publish and select publish as template. Now in the modal that opens up, you have the option of either adding a new template or updating an existing one. So these templates actually come, like I have mentioned earlier, from the catalog. If you select templates, these are the two categories available. And let's say this is the category of architecture sheets. I have created two types of templates already. So you can always keep publishing as many as you want. So you can choose your category, which is architecture sheet. Subcategory is architecture template. Let's say I'm adding it here itself. Or you can even add a new one if you want. You can add a new subcategory here. Hmm. You can even set in the name of the group, select add against the same, and type in the name of your template. Then you can put in a name for your SKU as well. You can select publish template. So now this should be published ideally into your admin portal's catalog. So just refresh your page. So now you can see this new subcategory called test has been created. Just go here. And now this test template has been there. It's been added now. So, so now it'll be added. This is how you can publish your template. And now whenever you add a new sheet or add a new presentation, this will be available as an option. So I think now if I select add sheet, I'll just close this design and I'll start another one. And now if I go to presentation, they'll ask you to choose from catalog. So this is what you would normally be facing. So yes, normally if there's an option to choose from catalog, then you should be able to get these two options. I'm not sure why it's not turning up for this. I'll just check the properties for this. I'll just refresh this page. But in your case, you should be able to get it. You should be able to, when you select choose from catalog. Yes, now it has come. So now when you get that, you'll be even getting architecture template, do my home template, or test one example. Now you can see this new thing that I've uploaded has come. So I just select this. And now this new sheet has been uploaded. This new sheet has been put in here. And similarly, if I were to select any other template that I've published herein, click on add sheet, choose from catalog, and select architecture template. So now this particular sheet has also been added. So I'll just delete this sheet by selecting either this minus sheet or this three dot button wherein I can click on delete sheet and I'll select accept. So this is how you can publish a template either by duplicating or by just directly publishing it to an actual catalog. So you will probably be creating many sheets like this. You'll be creating numerous different templates like this, whether it's for working drawings or for your elevations or for your renders, etc., MEP drawings, so on and so forth. I'll just set the borders for all of these and then can continue. Yes. So now that you've published your template, so and you have created your new template by adding a sheet. So now would be the filling of the sheet. So now it's the actually time to fill in your sheet with your actual content. So now let's say we want to add certain images, like we want to add renders. So in this case, I'll be clicking on images again. As you saw earlier that we have the option of choosing from the renders that we have run in this particular design. So always ensure that you have run some renders already or this will be empty. Just click on the render that you want and attached to your cursor. You can just set it anywhere within the section that you like. And now your render has been set. So to crop your render, you can always drag these extents. It won't be resized. It'll just be cropped to exclude certain items. And then you can drag it wherever you like. Similarly, if you click on this particular image, in the left hand side, you can see you can change the dimensions, and you can even change the transparency also. So if you don't want it to be opaque, you want it to have like less opacity, you can even type in something like 40 or something, and then it should be between 0 and 1. So if I type in 0.4, you can see it has become more transparent. So in this manner, you can keep setting your values between 0 and 1. For 1, will be completely, for 0.9, it'll be totally transparent, like almost transparent. And for 0, it'll be back to normal. And you can even change the rotation of the same. In the same manner, if you wanted to create, let's say, a material palette, you can again click on image and you can select the material tab here. So now whatever materials that you have used in this particular design, they will be loaded already for your reference. So you can click on them one by one, and then you can resize them. You can keep resizing them until they reach a size that you want. And you can do this with all of your, in fact, all of your materials. So you can add a few materials like this. So I'll just add a section so that there's a sort of alignment. So now it'll just snap. Everything that I add will be snapped here. In this way, you can keep adding your materials. Siberian oak. Again, I'll be resizing and cropping these. And if I want it to remain here, just add an image and click inside the correct place. You can crop it like this. In this manner, you can keep adding your materials in this way. I'll just add another one. So it's a very good way to ensure that this doesn't stray from your alignment. And then when you later on, you can always delete them, delete these section lines. And now they are perfectly in line with each other. And the same way, you can align your text also, your labeling text. And you can always drag them and move them elsewhere also. Of course, another way you can do so is by clicking on the move tool, clicking on this image, and then selecting graphical, and then moving it to any point that you want. So that's another way. You can even copy an element here by selecting copy, and you can copy or array whichever you like, and you can click on the base point and click on the destination point of the same. So that is how to add your renders and your materials to create a palette. Now let's say you want to add a view to your design. So to do that, I go back to my design and I just choose the view that I want. Let's say I want to add an elevation view. So for that, I just go to my elevation here. I add a new view. Within this view, I open elevation. Let's say this wall. Not this one. I'll select another one. And now to add a view, this particular view to presentation, go to this view too and click on the settings icon and select add view to presentation. Now you have the option to either add to the existing sheets or add to a brand new page. So I'll just select the second sheet because I want to add it to that, and I click on add to selected page. Now when I go back to my presentation and open the second sheet, you can see that this elevation has been added. Now the special thing about adding a different, like adding actual 2D drawing views from your design is that you can set the scale. So First, let's crop it to make sure it doesn't take up unnecessary space where it's not required. And in the left hand side, you may have seen something called current image scale. Right now, the presentation is saying 1 and the design is saying 67.04 because I have just resized it randomly. But if, let's say, I want to put in an actual scale, let's say we want a 1 is to 50 drawing, then in design, simply type in 50. So for every millimeter of this presentation sheet is actually representing 50 in real life. Or I can actually slightly double it, 1 is to 25 by putting 25 in the design. And now you're getting this drawing. So according to that, you can actually resize your sheet. Just for this purpose, I'm putting in 40, just for the sake of it fitting in. But of course, the sizing will be up to you and how you want to represent it. So this is how you can rescale your 2D drawings. By the way, this applies to any view, whether it's your render or it's your 3D. It's a 3D as well. So I can even put in a 3D view. I go to view 1, click on add view to presentation, select sheet 2, and click on add to selected page. Now I go to my presentation. I can't switch here because this view is locked. So I go to free view and I click on presentation. So now this view has been added in a similar scale. If I type in 1 is to 40, this is how it will be scaled. But the actual scale, the effect it has would be properly represented in your 2D drawings. So this is how you can rescale your 2D drawings and even crop the view. In this particular 3D view, it'll be better to crop it. And then you can simply resize it. And in addition to this, we even have draw tools to enhance the amount of things we can put in here. So if you select you may have noticed this draw tab here. Similar to the 2D drafting tool we have in the actual design mode, in presentation mode, we also have the same. So you can add like polylines, grids, construction lines, rectangles, polygons, etc. So you can add various construction lines just to alternate or switch between or set certain lines of reference. This you can do in the presentation also, but if at all you want to do this in your presentation, now this option is there. And this goes along with arrows, trim extend tools, circles, etc. So if I add a circle here, like let's say I'm creating a sort of a legend, and then you can actually edit this circle and its properties, like its color and its line weight, etc. And of course, you can copy it as well. You can even array it by selecting copy fixed distance and let's say 5 or 10 center to center. So of course you can even array 2D elements within your presentation. And you can do this with your lines, your not section lines, your normal lines, your images, so on and so forth. Now, another very important part about 2D elements, like 2D images, views that you have gotten from your drawings, is that let's say I'm adding a new sheet now. I want to represent certain layers in this new plan, like in this new drawing, but and switch off different layers in another one. So I go to this, I open a new sheet, I select from this existing catalog, and let's say I'm adding a new view here. This particular elevation itself, I think I'll select. I'll just add this view to presentation. So of course, you can start by copying this particular image Just crop and resize. By the way, whenever you add a format, all of these things are editable. So you can delete them also later on. So I'll just keep removing the section lines. I'll remove this table as well. I should have added in a blank page just to demonstrate how the layers work for your views. Just give me a few 1 minute. Uh, yes, okay. So I'll resize this and I'll resize this as well. Let's do a comparison between the two. Now let's say there's certain things that I want to hide within one drawing but showcase in the other. So when I select this, by the way, only applies for your views that you have added directly from your design and not from your images, not from static images like this is still fine, but not in your renders, etc. So if I go to sheet 3, if I click on any of these views, you'll be seeing an option here called layer visibility. If you open this, you will see all of the layers that are visible here, such as roofs, doors, windows, slabs, etc. Now, if I happen to hide cabinet or furniture by selecting the hide furniture, now all of your furniture will be hidden. And similarly, if I wanted to add one here, if I want to hide some other element here, I can do that by selecting layer visibility and then hiding a certain thing. Tiling, cuttings, windows, etc. So I can just leave whatever, I can hide the slab, for example. And now the slab will not be visible here, but it will be visible in the other one. And you can hide whatever furniture layer, like whatever layers that you want. Similarly, if you go to sheet 2, and let's take the example of this 3D image. This is not an image, it's actually a view. So you'll be able to edit layers here as well. Go to layer visibility. And now if I hid furniture, now all the furniture will be hidden here. And if I went back to my design, it'll not be affected here. It'll only be affected in your presentation. So that is an advantage of having layer visibility for your views. But now if I went to, let's say, this sheet 1 and this render I click on, you won't be getting any option for layer visibility. And even if because these views I've gotten directly from the designer dynamic, they're not fired or they're not gotten from the system either. So if I took a screenshot of this design, not the render, if I just took a screenshot of this design and imported it here, I wouldn't be able to edit the furniture in the way that I am able to do so here. So whatever lights I'm hiding, etc., I won't be able to do for a normal static image I've taken here. I'll just show an example. I'll just take a snip tool and I just take a screenshot of this image and then I save it. Now let's say I'm importing it here. Downloads, click on screenshot, open. Now you'd think that you'd be able to change the layers here, right? That is not the case. This is just an ordinary image that I've taken and loaded here. It's static. But these are views. This is a view. This 3D view I've put in is also a view. It's not an image. So that is the difference. You're able to edit certain components of it. So that is the difference actually. And let's say you wanted to, for presentation, you go to sheet 3 and you want to add a rich floor plan view version of this and a skeletal version of this. then in that case, you won't be able to do that here. But what you can do is you can go back to your design, open your elevation, clone a new one by clicking on this settings and clicking on duplicate view, and then making that view, changing it to rich elevation. And then after that, you can always, now you have a separate view with which you can put your presentation. So just select add view to presentation, add it to your sheet, add to selected page. And now when you go back to your presentation, you'll be getting this here. I'll actually need to add it to the last page. So yes, here is your rich elevation view. And here also you can hide the layers that you want. So in this way, you can compose various images, various views. I'm sorry, these are different views. That's why you're able to edit it in this way. Now I just want to show us the final part of the presentation. It's something called dynamic components. It works just like these views, which you're able to edit and it changes along with whatever changes you make in your design. Now, let's say there are certain details of the kitchen that we want, like cabinet details, hinge details, etc. So I'll just take an example. I'll just leave space for this. And now let's say I want to add cabinet details side by side to this. To add any sort of components like that, any sort of table, simply select something called the add components icon in your toolbar. And now on the left hand side, you will be actually able to create a schedule for any type of component that you want. If you select here type of component, you can generate cabinet details, handle details, hardware, countertop, material, etc. Let's say I want cabinet details. And so I just select that. And you can even select the level at which you want it. So do you want it for this entire building, or do you just want it for this elevation, which is elevation 2? So if I add it for only this particular elevation and I click on add for elevation 2 wall, now this table will be added. So your, this is actually going to be your cabinet details. So you can see in this elevation itself, we have a microwave unit, we have a wall unit, shelf unit, so on and so forth. And if I were to change even a single part of this kitchen elevation, let's say now we have 10 items here. You can see C1, C7, etc. Use the same thing that you see in this elevation. Now, if you go to your design and I were to delete C7, for example, you can do this in your 3D or in your elevation or your floor plan. Now, when I go to my presentation, you can see that C7 is no longer there and it is not in this elevation anymore. So this is what you call a dynamic component. You can change this to, it'll change according to whatever change you make in your design. So it's a very convenient tool and you don't have to keep cross checking whether something is there or not. Another thing you can do with this table that you have created is you can select it, and in the left hand side you will see several options that you can change. So now you can see, you can select the level at, you can even change the level at which you have created this details. So if I don't want it for this only this elevation, I want it for the entire room, then I can click on this and select building 1, select ground floor because that's where I've kept this kitchen, and select the room itself. So now you can see it is actually expanded if I were to not only place cabinets here, if I placed some in the design as well, like in the floor plan, I would not put in this elevation, but I'd place some furniture here as well. This is called C16. Now, if I go back to my presentation, now this new one called C16 has been added to this table. And now if I change the level at which it was created, just elevation 2, C16 is no longer there. So this is how you can change the level at which it is you're obtaining the cabinet details. In a similar manner, you can get this for your hinges, you can get this for your hardware, so on. So component, change, get the type of component, let's say handle details or hinge details. Building 1, ground floor, kitchen 1, add for kitchen. So you'll be getting these as well. You'll be getting something like this. You can even sort out your, you can even group and sort your categories, your table items using something called edit fields in the left hand panel. If you select edit fields, you can even put in this the parameters that you want in your table. Let's say I want these are cabinets. I want to put in the height, width, and the depth as well. Now, if I select apply, you can see that these have been added here. So you'll be getting extra information. Further, if I were to click on edit fields and filter it, I add a filter and I only want some of a specific height that is less than 1000 or 1500 in height. Then I select apply. So I just want cabinets lower than that. So now you can see that the number of cabinets listed is significantly like it's lessened. I'm only getting the cabinets which are not tall units. And similarly, if I were to click on edit fields and I were to sort them, I am going to organize them in ascending order of height. You can select descending or ascending order. I'm clicking ascending and I select apply. Now it's coming from height of 200 to 1100. So in this way, it's been organized. And lastly, you can group these fields. Edit fields, grouping, add new rule, select your category, which in this case is cabinets, or you can select, if there are more categories listed, you can select all also. It's up to you. And you can group by a certain parameter. So I'm grouping them in terms of height. Then I select, then you can either add a grouping field, which means you can group by another parameter or you can delete the field. You can even add a new rule as well, which is a new grouping rule. Then you can select apply. And now you can see that there are three into specific heights used for these cabinets. Ones of 200, ones of height of 650, and then ones of 1100. So you can do all of these actually to your dynamic components. If I'll just edit the fields and I'll add um, quantity. If I add quantity here and I drag this somewhere near the first column and apply, you can even see that, okay, here one cabinet of 200 has been used, four cabinets of 650 have been used, and three cabinets of 1100 height have been used. So these are various ways in which you can actually edit your cabinets. And that is a very important part of generating this kind of hardware data and cabinet data for your drawings, and you can present them to clients as well. And just like your views, you can crop it, you can resize it as well. You can't crop it, you can just resize. And even by diagonal resizing as well. So, but lastly, if you change this to static, so if you click on this and go to the left hand panel and select change to static, you'll get a modal saying that if you make this component static, the data will no longer be, it won't change in response to whatever modifications you make. So do you still want to continue? If you're okay with that, you can select accept. So now if I click on this, you won't be getting component related data. You'll be getting just, you'll be able to edit it in the same way you can edit a table. Maybe it's text, colors, so on and so forth. You can add rows to it, but it won't work in the same way that a dynamic table would. So these are a bit about components, dynamic components. And lastly, now, in order to see all your sheets, if you want to print these particular sheets as a PDF, simply select the print presentation icon in your toolbar. You have the option of either printing the current sheet that you're on or printing all of the sheets. So when you select either of them, it'll be added to the download queue and it will eventually be downloaded into your system. So your PDF will basically be printed. So that might take some time. I'll just check the download to see if it has been loaded. But yes, that is basically how you print your PDF. So I think we have exceeded this a little bit by 15 minutes. Okay, this presentation is ready. So now I've selected it and this is basically the presentation that I have printed if you select print all of the sheets. So now I think we have exceeded by 15 minutes. So uh, this will actually bring us to the end of the presentation webinar. If you have any questions, you're welcome to bring them up. The floor is now open. I'll just check the list, the chat, if anyone has placed anything there. Okay.
Hi, Joanne. I had a question. I wanted to ask if there's a way to add like a rectangle with a color filled inside it, and if we can change the opacity of that color as well
Okay.
in
I
the
can
presentation tool. It's
in the
usually like to
presentation.
highlight certain parts of a floor plan or something like that.
Understood. Even if you can't do that in presentation, you can probably do that in your actual design. So I'll just check. I think it's just to highlight a certain part, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
So
ideal would be if we can do it in the presentation because it goes like in the side sections that you've made. So it's a very small part, like we really minimize the floor plan and we just use that rectangle to highlight maybe one elevation of a kitchen or something like that, the elevation that we're presenting in the main page.
understood. Let me just check whether it can be done here itself. So if I selected this draw tool and created a rectangle tool here, but the problem is that in this case, you'll not really be able to fill it. So what you can do is, you can try going to your, let's say this present, go back to your design and open a view wherein you want to highlight this, let's say your elevation. And we do have something called the hatch tool. So if you don't want to do it here, you can duplicate this and add this hatch here. But in any case, I'll just be selecting hatch in this home toolbar. And you have this option of creating like a border for your hatch. So you want to highlight a certain part, let's say this chimney. I'll just use the rectangle tool and draw that. And then I change this type of hatch to a solid one. It should be here somewhere. One second. The fill color, you can denote it to be whatever color that you want. Stroke color. I'll just select apply and then see what happens here. Now, if I click in this and the, hmm,
Yeah, it's
not,
okay. I get the idea. It does have a solid one. which is, I mean, you're scrolling further, it's right there actually. So
You do
that's
have.
fine. I understand. Like we would have to make a different view every time for the floor plan, like to highlight something in the floor plan.
You would have, yeah, if you want, you can actually just create a flow. You can create a separate view and then put all of these denotations there. You don't even have to duplicate it. You can, even if you were to do it in this present one, right? So
No, the idea is like, for example, if you have a kitchen with four elevations, and then with each elevation you want to highlight that elevation only, we would have to make separate views for that, right?
yes, yes, you will have to do that, but you can make these denotations in your elevation views and then simply move them to your presentation. And in your presentation, if you want, you can hide or unhide this. So now if I go back to my presentation, now this will be there, right? This hatch. So I can go to layer visibility and I have the choice of hiding or unhiding it. I'll just check if hatch is there, which layer does that belong to? Annotations. So I'll go to presentation, select this, layer visibility, um, and hide annotations. So you can hide or unhide this once you've placed it in your presentation. You'll just have to do this once for each view that you want to highlight, right?
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else?
How to go to that catalog wherein we get different templates?
Yes. This you will find it in your admin portal itself. So I'll just you're familiar with the admin portal, right? Okay. I'll just show how to go to the admin portal. So that's where you see all your cataloged items. If I were to close this design, in your dashboard, you will have an option of going to your admin portal by selecting this link. Go to admin portal. This is how you enter your admin portal. Now you select catalog in the left hand panel. And we have various sections already: furniture, accessories, finishes, etc. We have something at the bottom called templates. Select architect, select either template or this new one that I have created. I'm not sure whether for others will be there, but this is available for me at least. You can always create one. So select that category and select the subcategory that you want. So this is how you can access, you can see what all are there, what all you have in your catalog. But to actually apply it, you need to go to your presentation view and add a sheet, and they'll ask which catalog you want to upload it from.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, sure. Is that clear?
Yeah, clear. Thank
Sure.
you.
No problem. All right. So since unless anyone else has any other doubts, so I think then we can close this presentation webinar for today. So I hope this was of some help to all of you. Thank you all so much for making it for this particular day. And yes, this will be shared with you if at all you should want it. This recording will be made ready for everyone. So thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank
मैम
you.
ये रिकॉर्डिंग आप कहाँ शेयर करेंगे?
You have your customer success person, right? So as soon as it is ready, which will be by tomorrow, you can ask her. I will share it with her.
ओके, ओके मैम,
All right.
ओके।
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, and good evening.